How can one man embody the galaxy's greatest hero and Gotham's ghastliest villain? This is the evolution of Mark Hamill. Luke Skywalker made Hamill a household name, but his outer space adventures are only half the story. Throughout his career, the actor has owned some of pop culture's most iconic roles, but things started slowly during the early years. Hamill was born in California in 1951, but he didn't stay there for long. As the son of a U.S. Navy captain, his family moved constantly. He attended 9 schools in 10 years, and by the time Hamill graduated high school, he was actually living in Japan. Mark moved to Los Angeles at the age of 17, working various odd jobs and living in an old gardener shed for $55 a month as he tried to make it in Hollywood. His first paying role was a guest spot on a 1970s Bill Cosby series, and from there he landed bit parts on various shows, including The Partridge Family, a 9-month stint on General Hospital, and a co-starring role in a short-lived sitcom called Texas Wheelers.
This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of, getting all dressed up to ferry a duck.
Hamill was slowly but surely finding success in the world of television, but his big screen debut made him a megastar overnight, thanks to a little movie called Star Wars. When Mark Hamill first heard about the casting call for an upcoming sci-fi fantasy flick, he was 26 years old and crashing on his friend and fellow actor Robert Englund's couch. Englund, who would later become an icon of his own as Freddy Krueger, had auditioned for Han Solo. Sadly, he didn't get the part, but he suggested that Mark should try out for the role of an idealistic farm boy named Luke.
But I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Star Wars changed the way movies are made and marketed, and its global success made Hamill a household name overnight, but he almost didn't live to see it. 5 months before the movie was released, Hamill was involved in a serious car accident. His nose and cheekbones were shattered, requiring surgery to repair the damage and forever altering the face that millions of fans would look up to. You can see the difference in the Star Wars Holiday Special and Corvette Summer, the box office bomb he starred in immediately after A New Hope. When it came time for the Empire to strike back, the movie actually incorporated his accident into the script with a fierce Wampa attack to explain Luke's changed appearance. His earnest performance as the archetypical hero continued to thrill fans in Return of the Jedi, and after the original trilogy ended, you'd think he would have become a leading man like his co-star Harrison Ford. Well, that didn't happen because Hamill became a victim of Hollywood typecasting. Star Wars transformed Hamill into a teen icon, but fame was a double-edged sword. For years after the original trilogy, studios were reluctant to cast him as anything but a baby-faced hero. Luke Skywalker hounded him for years, and frustrated by the lack of meteor roles, Hamill turned his attention to Broadway, where he appeared in stage productions of The Elephant Man and replaced Tim Curry as Mozart in Amadeus. When the latter play was adapted to film in 1984, Mark was eager to reprise the role on screen, but a Hollywood executive flatly refused, saying, "I don't want Luke Skywalker in this film." The only roles available to him were on TV shows like The Flash, or in cult sci-fi films like Midnight Ride and The Guyver.
I want you to like me.
Then why are you doing this to me?
Laura, I'm not going to hurt you. Just don't run away from me, okay? Promise!
A far cry from the global phenomenon of Star Wars. Hamill eventually realized that people couldn't see him as Luke Skywalker if they couldn't see him at all. So he took his face out of the equation and tried his hand at voice acting. Hamill had actually experimented with voiceover work before Star Wars in Ralph Bakshi's 1977 film Wizards, but he wouldn't land the role that made him an icon until 1992, where he appeared in another masterpiece that changed the course of pop culture, Batman: The Animated Series. Ironically, Hamill wasn't the first choice to play the Joker. Originally, Tim Curry was cast to play Gotham's clown prince of crime, but after a bout of bronchitis, Hamill stepped in to replace him, just like he did in Amadeus nearly a decade earlier. Hamill made the role his own with his over-the-top, cackling performance that perfectly blended merriment and menace.
They used to kid me because I was the only one who would stand up, and I just thought to energize the character, to shake my fist, and I felt I've got to stand up.
For a lot of people, Hamill is the Joker, and for nearly 25 years, he continued to portray the character throughout cartoons, animated movies, and the Arkham video games. Since he began as Joker, Hamill has become one of animation's most prolific voice actors, but he especially relishes playing the bad guy. He went on to voice supervillains across several different shows, from the Hobgoblin in Spider-Man to reprising his live-action role as the Trickster in Justice League Unlimited. After his resurgence, Hamill re-embraced his status as a geek icon. appearing in cameos on The Simpsons, Third Rock from the Sun, and a memorable turn as Cockknocker in Kevin Smith's Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Why do they call you Cockknocker? Actually, there's a funny story behind that. You're gonna love this. True story.
See, Hamill isn't just an actor, he's an honest-to-goodness nerd, and if you need proof of his cred, just check out his sole directorial effort, the 2004 mockumentary Comic Book the Movie, a love letter to fandom that gave many of his fellow voice actors a chance to shine in front of the camera. Hamill's career could have ended here, as a beloved but mostly irrelevant pop culture relic. But in 2015, Hamill faced his biggest challenge yet, stepping back into the role that both made and cursed his career, giving the galaxy a renewed hope. After Disney purchased Lucasfilm in 2012, they went full steam ahead on production of the long-awaited Star Wars sequel trilogy. But first, they had to convince Mark Hamill to pick up the lightsaber once again. George Lucas himself approached the actor just before the deal was sealed, and initially, Hamill was reluctant to return to the galaxy far, far away. He eventually agreed after hearing that Harrison Ford would also be involved because he didn't want to be the only holdout. Hamill grew a beard and lost 50 pounds to play the older, grizzled Luke, even though he only appeared on screen at the very end of The Force Awakens. The Last Jedi gave him a much meatier role, but after living with Luke for 40 years, Hamill had his own strong opinions on the character. He initially disagreed with director Rian Johnson's decision to make Luke a broken, jaded man. But whether you loved or hated The Last Jedi, Hamill's powerful performance helped ease the loss of the beloved hero. And even though Luke himself might have joined his father and mentors in the Force, Mark Hamill's Hollywood legacy will never truly die.